Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana Hobby Guy. Today I am in the laser lab and I am setting up, as you can see right down there, or right over there, wherever it is. You'll see I'm creating a new Lightburn library called the Lasermatic 2010, and this is a dual library, so it's going to have settings for 10 watt and 20 watt for all different types of material. I've done this before for the Lasermatic 10 watt, and I thought I would share with you today how I do this. And as you can see up here on the Lightburn screen, got all kinds of weird stuff going on here. And sometimes at first I'll do a material test like you see here, a regular Lightburn material test. But typically what I do, and that's usually on new materials. Typically what I do on older materials is I go and look at my last library that I set up for it, or I'll just run some tests, some quick tests to see how the laser cuts at what different speeds. So I'm going to show you today the really fast and easy way to set this up. I think you're going to enjoy this because you can do fast, easy libraries, and you don't have to do the long detailed material tests if you do it this way. And you can run through each material pretty quickly doing this all on your own without having to buy a library or downloading a library. Right now, as you can see, so far I've done acrylic and I've done bamboo, and brown chipboard is the one that I've been working on. I've done cork pine plywood, and this is the last one I was working on. And here you can see this framing square right here. Well, this framing square is just the size of the brown chipboard that's on the laser right now. So if we were to take a look at that, let me move the laser out of the way, and now I can move it out of the way, and there you can see that brown chipboard that's on the laser bed. That was the one that I was just doing right here, brown chipboard. What we're going to do next, I think, is we're going to do this flag maple, and this will be my next project, and I'm going to show you how I do this from start to finish so that you can do this for yourself start to finish very quickly, and wind up with your own custom library. So are you ready? Let's get started. All right, so I've gone ahead, as you can see on the screen, and loaded that 100 by 100 millimeter piece of flag maple that I just showed you a minute ago onto the workbed, as you can see, and I've gone ahead and focused the laser. Now let's focus on Lightburn for a minute. Now this rectangle here is my tool path, and what I'm going to do is grab a hold of that, and I'm going to resize this to 100 by 100. 100 tab, 100 enter, and there it is right there. That is my 100 by 100. Up at the top of the screen over here, I'm going to put it in the top left corner, just like that. Now if you don't see these advanced controls over here, just right click on the white space, come over here, uncheck this one that says arrange, uncheck this one that says arrange, and check, and then right click again and check this one that says arrange long. Then you'll have all these advanced controls over here. So now that we've got our tool path in the top left corner, which is where I'm working from, the reason why I'm working in the top left corner is because that's where my exhaust is closest to. It'll get more smoke out of the laser if I'm closer to the exhaust. So now with the tool path, you're probably wondering what all these things are on here. These are all tool paths. So I'm just going to delete all of these for now. I'm going to delete this one too. I'm going to put this one on the red layer. First thing I'm going to do is check the cutting speed of this 10 watt laser. Now I've got the Lasermatic 20 in 10 watt mode, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring it right over here to the edge, snap it right to the edge like that, and that way it'll cut half on, half off. I'll see if that little piece drops out or not. I'm going to take a guess. So this is 7.5 millimeters thick. It's flag maple. I'm going to come to my cuts and layers over here. I'm going to change the speed on this to I'm going to take a guess at let's say 140, I think was on my other laser, 140, 100, and maybe 2 passes, something like that. And I'm going to say okay. So now I've got that all set. I've got the laser all set, it's focused, it's turned on, the material is in the right spot. Oh, I got to take this vector off here because the only thing that we want to cut right now is just that square. So let's go ahead and hit start and see what happens. It looks like it's almost through on the first pass. And as you can see, it did cut cleanly through. So the question now is this exactly what I want as far as the cut? Maybe not. So I'm going to put this right back where it was in that top left corner. Close the lid, and I think I'm going to make an adjustment because that may have been a little bit too slow. So I'm going to grab hold of this. I'm going to press Control and the letter D, and here's where the point of this video comes in. Now I'll use my arrow key to move it down and get it just where I want it right there. And then I'll take this one, put it on a tool path. You see where I'm going with this? So I'll know everywhere that I've engraved and cut on this piece of wood by putting the last cut on a tool path. So now I'll come over here and I'll come back to my library. I know one pass wasn't good, so I'm just going to bump this up to, I'm going to try it at 160 and see what happens. 2 passes. And now I can just hit start. And we're going to watch and see if that 160 cuts cleanly through. My goal here is to get the cleanest cut at the fastest speed without running an entire matrix from the Laser Tools menu. And it does look like that's cutting cleanly through. And I didn't put it up against the edge, as you can see. It's off just a little bit. But that is looking pretty good right there. That's a much better cut. But I'm still not completely happy with that. This time I'm making sure that it's up against the edge so I get it in the right spot. So the question now is, how much further do I go with this? I'm going to control the letter D, and we're going to do just one more because I am pretty sure we're not going to be able to go too much further with this. But let's just go to the extreme and go 220 and see what happens. 220, 100, 2 passes. Here we go. Now, as you saw there was just the tiniest little bit stuck on this corner right here. So I'm going to say that that's a pretty good number right there. for this 7.5 millimeter. So what I'm going to do, that tiny little bit there, I'm just going to reduce this by 10 to 210 millimeters per minute, line 100% power, 2, and I'm going to say OK. And now with this line selected, I'm going to come over here to the library, create new from library. And the material name I'm going to call Maple Flag. It's actually flag maple, but this will be easier to categorize here. And the thickness, we're going to put 7.5 millimeters. And the description is going to be cut. And I'm just going to say OK. And we now have our new category over here called flag maple for 7.5 millimeter. Now the next thing that we're going to do, so now we can take this guy off, put it over there for storage. Oh, actually, I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. Let me go back. We're going to put that on the toolpath. So this way we know where everything is cut. And this one will move over just a little bit because we know we were off on that cut. I didn't put it in the right spot. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to continue on with that same piece of maple in that same spot. And we're going to do a graphic. So now I'll take this graphic. Now here's something that you need to understand here. If I do this graphic at this speed, okay, with this overscanning, which is the recommendation from Rolly Automation, it should be between 2.5 and 4%. You can go up as high as 5. You're going to see that I need 5.37 millimeters of clearance left and right. See this back and forth? I need 5.7 millimeters. So if we look here, that's not 5.7 millimeters from this stop, this hard stop, the left side of the laser, to the graphic. So we have to make sure that this graphic is 5.7 millimeters off. And right now I've got my grid spacing in 10 millimeters, so that would be good. That line is 10 millimeters. So that's far enough. So we're going to run this first one at whatever in 10 watt mode. So I'm going to say, yeah, maybe we're going to do a fill at 9,000. We're going to start with 9,000, and I'm going to do the max power at 65 for maple, and 275 is what I usually do graphics at, lines per inch, or 0.09 line interval. And I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to leave the air assist on. This has automatic air assist. And we're just going to run the job and see what happens. Now, if I click start, let's say I had the graphic positioned over here toward the corner, and I click start and I got a message that's saying that, you know, it was out of bounds. Well, then you don't run the job, you move it over, because you need that clearance, or else your laser is going to stop dead. On this one, it might do the first few lines really good, and then when it got to the middle here, all of a sudden it would hit that hard stop on the side. So you have to make sure you have that clearance when you're engraving. And this is sort of hit or miss. You know, you could run that material test, but you'd use up this whole piece of wood on that one test. And that's why I do it this way. Let's take a look, see what we got. And as you can see, that is a pretty darn good graphic. I don't think I need to make any adjustments. Alright, so we've got the graphic out of the way. Sometimes you're going to need to do, you know, a few of these to get the right one. So we're done with that graphic for now. Oops, I didn't mean to move it. Put it on a toolpath. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a photo. And actually, before I do that, I have to undo, because I need to take these and bring them into the library. Wow, making a bunch of mistakes today. So I'm going to highlight that layer. I'm going to create new from layer. It's going to remember that I just did flag maple. We're going to call this one. We're going to make sure it says no thickness now. And we're going to do in here 10 watt engrave 275 LPI. And then the description here is, we're just going to put engrave. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to make this engrave, because this will be a category up here. So we're going to call this engrave, and over here we're going to do the 275 LPI. Now we'll get a whole new category under flag maple called engrave. Okay, so we had 7.5 millimeter, now we have engrave. Whenever I do a thickness, I put in the thickness of the wood. It makes a new category just for that thickness. And this one I need to change also. You won't need to, but I need to change this to 10 watt cut, because later on I'm going to do a 20 watt cut and add it to this same library. So okay, so now we've got that done. Now I can put that on a toolpath. Now I'm going to take my photo, and I'm going to put my photo right next to it, just like that. And I have a good idea now of how this is going to engrave, because we just looked over here. Well, let me change this, because you can always edit the description, because I put a capital N in over there. So you can edit the description anytime you want just by clicking on it and clicking edit. I'm glad that I make these little mistakes. So I know that this one here is 9,065. So I'm going to probably use something close to that for that image. So let's double click the image over here. And I think I'm going to start with Jarvis, which is one of my favorite ones. I'll do grayscale later. And I think I'm going to do, let's see, we've got some white in there. If there's a lot of different whites in there, you want to go faster. So I think I'm going to go 9800 maybe. And I'm going to do a max power of 45 just to do my first test in Jarvis. 318 DPI now, because we're doing an image. And I'm going to say OK. Now the only thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go raise my focus real quick, because we're doing engraving now, and I should have done that when I did the graphic over here, but I can do it right now. I'm going to run over there and change my focus real quick for engraving. Now I might even run that vector again. So let's run this job and see how it comes out. Now this job will take a little bit longer, not much. But you see I have a couple different vectors. Here's another vector over here that I use. Sometimes I'll run a couple different vectors to see what looks the best, and if one looks better than the other, I'll try and redo them again to make sure that they both look exactly the same. And it looks like we're done. And that is pretty outstanding. I'm going to put it back here and try and zoom it with the software so that you can see it in the software, but that is an outstanding engraving right there. I'm going to go with these numbers. So now this is just a rinse and repeat. We're just going to continue moving on, and we're going to keep doing vectors, graphics, and the next thing that I'm going to do is text. So I will just take and let me lower the size of this down here. And you want to be around 5 millimeters when you do text. So we'll just do text. And I'm not actually going to, keep going with this video, because I think you get the point at this point. Now images you can't put on a toolpath. So what I do is I take and just draw a square over the image like that, and then I'll come over here and move that square up like that to get it so I can see the image. Then I'll select the image and move it out of the way. And that's only because I want to know where that spot was that I've already used on this piece of wood, because you can't put an image on a toolpath. So now the next thing I'm going to do is the text, and I will probably put this in a place where I use the least amount of wood. I will wind up eventually using most of this board because I'm doing the 10 watt right now, and I need to do the 10 watt and the 20 watt for this library, but you get the idea. So the idea is to draw a toolpath, put it in a specific location on your laser, and you can, it doesn't matter, you don't have to have the honeycomb like I have for absolute positioning. You can just take and put a framing square down on your wasteboard, tape it in place so that you can always put your material right up into the corner of that framing square. And then this is very quick, easy. I can do an entire material library in under 20 minutes for, like, for instance, this flag maple. In under 20 minutes time, I'll have both the 10 watt and the 20 watt settings dialed in for vectors, for rasters, for photos, and for cuts. So it's just a matter of, like I showed you earlier, running the job with baseline numbers, whatever you think it might cut through at, whatever your laser's been cutting through at. If you don't know what you know, if you're new to this, don't know what your laser will cut, you can go to lahobbyguy.com, and if you sign up for a free account there in the members only area, you can download Lightburn libraries for almost any laser engraver, the 5 watt, the 10 watt, the 20 watt. There's even one, I think, 20 to 40 watt library there now. But you can download a sample library to give you some baseline settings to get started with. Load it into Lightburn over here by clicking load, and look up the material that you're using, write down those numbers, create a new library, and start doing your tests and start creating a whole new library just for your particular laser and your materials. Okay, and that's just how easy it is to create Lightburn libraries. Very, very easy, very fast. You know, a lot of people like that material test under the laser tools in Lightburn. The only reason that I don't like it is because it uses up too much material. So I try and do it, I use my best guess on the first cut, and then I go from there. And I use a fraction of the material as, you know, opposed to using the material test. But here, take a look. So a lot of people say, well, you know, sometimes I just can't get things to burn right. Well, this is bamboo. Look at that middle dragon there. That burned just perfectly. Look at that photo on the bottom right. You know, burned almost perfectly. You're never going to get photos perfect on bamboo. That's just the way it is. But I've been doing the 10 watt library. I've done a couple 20s. This is the 8mm wood from Dollar Tree. So there's some cut tests on the 10 watt on the 8mm. I've done all kinds of things. I've done the butternut cut test and the first image test on that. I've done the walnut cut test. I've got, just to give you an idea of the amount of work I'm going to be putting into this library, this is what's going to be in here. There's going to be American holly, black cherry, ash, maple, rainbow poplar, mahogany, sycamore, Romark laser plastic, Laser Max plastic. I'm going to do sycamore. I'm going to do the Scott Ply plastic, the name badges. I've got one right over here. So I got these Scott Ply name badges, as you can see here. Real nice project. There's two ways you can do it, a pin or a magnetic hookup, but they come out really, really nice, the Scott Ply name badges. I even did the black sparkle acrylic with the 10 watt laser. So that's an old one there. But I'm going to do vinyl stickers, acrylic, stainless, painted something. I don't know what that is. Anodized aluminum, tumblers, you know, just all kinds of painted aluminum. That's what that one was. All kinds of materials in this library, just like I did with the Lasermatic 10 library. So if you have a 10-watt library laser, you can go over to my store, engravingcutfiles.com, and you can buy that 10-watt library over there. I think it's $7.99. This 10-watt library is going to be available for $14. If you're a Lasermatic owner, Lasermatic 10 or Lasermatic 20, you will get this library for free. This particular library won't be available. We've got the LBX coming up, the Lightburn convention in Peoria. Won't be available probably until the mid to late November. So you can look for it then, late November. If you're a Lasermatic owner, just contact the company, say like December 1st, and they'll send you the 10-watt library for free, or you can get it at my store, either way. But I'm going to do all types of things, even cedar wood, all types of acrylic. So far I've done black, red, yellow acrylic, and clear engraving. You know, you can't cut clear. Just lots and lots of different materials. MDF is on the list. If you've got this library, you'll already know how many materials are included in it. This is just a list of some of the woods and other things that is going to be in this library. But you can make your own library following this video without wasting a lot of material on your own, just by using the tips and the tricks that I showed you in the video today. And you will just use a really small amount of material compared to the material test in Lightburn. So I hope you enjoyed visiting with me here in the Laser Lab today and seeing how I do the material libraries. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.